Hey everyone, my name's Amanda, and today we're going to be tier ranking all of the books I read in the last 5 years. So, like I mentioned in that first video that I did a couple of weeks ago, sorry for no videos over the last couple of weeks. Turns out, working full time and trying to find time to film is hard. So I thought what I might do today is just go through all of the books that I've read in the last 5 years and tier rank them. Let's start from 2020 and work our way back to this year. Firstly, we'll talk about what my tier ratings are. So firstly is Immaculate Vibes. So we're all about the vibes here. So Immaculate Vibes is what it is, that we had a great vibe. These are my 4s and 5 stars. They don't have to be 5 stars because, spoiler alert, there's not a lot of 5 stars. The next is the vibes were good. It had some good vibes. Wasn't the best. They weren't immaculate. Next were the vibes were mid. I feel like that's quite self-explanatory. Then we have the vibes were off. Where were the vibes? And just no rating. So we'll start with Stone Cold Touch. This is by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is book 2 in the Dark Element series. It's a young adult paranormal romantasy series. I'm not going to talk about what book 2 and 3 are about because they are book 2 and 3 in a series. But these follow the character Layla and Zane, and Layla is a half demon, half gargoyle, and Zane, I believe, is a full good gargoyle. And then she meets Roth, who is a demon, and things ensue, love triangles. I remember loving this series. I think book 2, though, was probably my least favourite, so I'm going to put it in the vibes were good. And then we had book 3. Goodreads review confirms it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I loved every minute of it. So we're going with Immaculate Vibes. Then we're going to move on to Storm and Fury. So Storm and Fury is set in the same world as, also by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I had a thing for Jennifer L. Armentrout in 2020. I think I'd read the Lux series in 2019, and I love that series. So I think I was still on the Jennifer L. Armentrout train. Storm and Fury is book 1 in the Harbinger series. It is set in the same world as the Dark Element series and Lux. It follows a character, Trinity, who is going blind, and she lives with gargoyles, I believe. I don't overly remember this series. I don't remember loving it as much as Stone Cold Touch. My good review says I gave it 4 stars, so I'm going to sit with the vibes mid. Next we move on to Scythe by Neil Schusterman. This is book 1 of the Arc of the Scythe series. This is another young adult dystopian series. I remember not loving this. It's basically about these people, these teenagers that are training to be Scythe. So in this world, humanity has conquered death. People don't die. So as a result, there are Scythes that must go and master the art of taking a life. And I love books that kind of go around the Grim Reaper. Like, I just love not just books, like stories around the Grim Reaper. So I really wanted to love this. I did not, unfortunately. So I've given it a 3 stars, but I think I would maybe sit with the vibes are off. So then we move on to the next book, which is Obsession by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I'm going to be honest, I don't remember this book at all. It says it's an adult paranormal romance on Goodreads. I don't remember her. What did I rate it? I've given it 3.5 stars. So I think, again, maybe we're going to sit with the vibes are off. There's a cat trying to jump in a box. The next book is The Girl in Red by Christina Henry. This is a young adult retelling of Little Red Riding Hood. It's essentially about a girl named Red, and she is trying to get somewhere. I don't really remember where she's trying to get, and she is basically being chased by people trying to catch her, I believe. I don't know. She's a woman alone in the woods is what the last sentence of the synopsis says, without me reading the whole thing. I remember not liking this. I didn't like the character. I just thought Red was really annoying. That stuck in my brain, so I think I'm going to put this in Where Were the Vibes? Sorry for anyone that loved that book. This is a young adult contemporary. I don't remember what happened in this book, but I do remember absolutely loving it. So this is the one that has Sebastian and Lena in it. I did read a quick bit of the synopsis, and it basically says that Lena is getting ready to go to college and get her college applications done, but then something happens and it destroys everything, and whatever that something is, it means that Sebastian could never forgive her for what happened. I remember loving it. I don't remember anything about it though, but just because I remember it, I'm going to put it in The Vibes Were Good. Okay, next we have Heartstopper Volume 3 by Alice Oseman. I feel like we're all familiar with Heartstopper. These books are just like a warm, cozy hug. I am not even going to look at my Goodreads review. I'm just going to put this in The Vibes Were Good. So next we have Thunderhead by Neil Schusterman. Similar to Scythe, I didn't love it. These books, I can see why people love them. They're just not the books for me. And I didn't end up continuing after Thunderhead. I actually ended up donating these books. They are gone. So I am going to be putting it in The Vibes Were Off. Maybe it should be Where Were the Vibes? That seems right. Next we have The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I think at this point, this was my third reread of this book. I love this book. It's one of my all-time favorites. Immaculate vibes for days. Next we have The Rules for Being a Girl by Katie Coutugno and Candace Bushnell. My rating says I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I don't remember it at all. So the synopsis says that this is a book about a girl named Marin. She is a smart, driven, popular girl. She's headed for Brown, and when she graduates, she's got a brilliant career ahead of her, especially in the eyes of Mr. Beckett, her teacher. She thinks he's harmless until he kisses her, so gross. So Marin decides to write an article in the school paper called The Rules for Being a Girl that points out misogyny and sexism that girls face every day. Sounds like a great synopsis and I don't remember this book at all though. I apparently liked it at the time. I don't remember her. So I think I'm going to have to go Vibes are Mid because I obviously liked it, right? But I don't remember her. So the next book we have is Hiroshima by John Hersey. This is a book that is about Hiroshima. It is about someone that goes and interviews 6 men and women, and it's their story of surviving the bomb. So it was told 40 years after the bombs drop on Hiroshima. It's going to be one of the ones that I'm going to put in no rating. Okie dokie. So the next book we have is Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. I was about to say Margot. I don't know why. Anyway, this book is basically about magic. It is also a young adult fantasy romance type book. It's about a girl named Elizabeth. She was raised as a foundling in one of Ostermere's great libraries. She's grown up among the tools of sorcery and magical grimoires. I do remember the magical books. If provoked, they transform into grotesque monsters of ink and leather, and I believe it is Elizabeth's job to try and look after the grimoires. An act of sabotage releases the most dangerous grimoire, and Elizabeth is implicated in the crime. No one else to turn to except for her sworn enemy, the sorcerer Nathaniel Thorne. I remember really, really liking this. It says I've given it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I remember really liking it. I think I'm going to put it as The Vibes Are Good because... Okay, so the next one we have is Learning Not to Drown by Anna Shinoda. Just if anybody doesn't know, because Anna Shinoda is the wife of Mike Shinoda, who is the rapper from Linkin Park. So I bought this book knowing nothing about it other than Anna wrote it, and Mike Shinoda, who is also an artist on top of being a rapper, designed the cover for this book. You probably can't see it great there. It's a really great cover though. Unfortunately, I did not love the book. So it is about Claire and her older brother Luke, who has been in prison and he's about to be released from prison. But then I think she starts to find out the truth about his arrests. I remember it having like a good meaning to it. I didn't love it. So unfortunately, even though I've kept it because I love the cover, I'm going to put it in Where Were the Vibes. The next one is The Princess, the Queen, or The Black and the Greens by George R.R. Martin. I don't know her. What is this? It says that it is a novella. It replaces the 4th in the series of Dunk and Egg, which I've not read the Dunk and Egg series either. I apparently gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I don't know her, so I think I'm going to put it down in no rating. Next we move to Deadly Little Secret by Laurie Faria Stolars. I apparently gave it 4 out of 5 stars. However, I did never continue the series, and I have since donated it, gotten rid of it. So Clearly it didn't stick with me at all. So it's about a girl named Camilla. She lived a fairly ordinary life, but then Ben, the new mysterious guy at school, is anything but ordinary. He's rumoured to be somehow responsible for his ex's accidental death. He is immediately ostracised by everybody on campus except for Camilla. She's reluctant to believe the rumours, even when her friends try to convince her otherwise. She's inexplicably drawn to Ben and his touch. But soon she's receiving eerie phone calls and strange packages with threatening notes. Ben insists she's in danger and that he can help her, but can he be trusted? None of this is ringing a bell. Cool. I think similar to The Princess and the Queen, I think I'm going to put it in no rating. I clearly enjoyed it at the time. I don't remember her. Next, we're going on to The Wicked Deep by Shea Earnshaw. So this one was, I remember at the time thinking I was going to love this book. So this book is about 3 sisters that were sentenced to death for witchery. They had stones tied to their ankles and they were drowned in the deep waters surrounding the town. And for a brief time each summer, the 3 sisters return from the depths, steal bodies of 3 weak-hearted girls so they can seek their revenge, luring boys into the harbour and pulling them down into their watery deaths. So Penny Talbot has accepted the fate of this town, but this year, on the eve of the sisters' return, a boy named Bo Carter arrives, unaware of the danger he has just stumbled upon, and the fact that his arrival will change everything. Mistrust and lies spread quickly through the salty rain-soaked streets. Only Penny can see what others cannot. But will she be forced to choose, save Bo or save herself? I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars. I remember not liking it at all. So, where were the vibes? Next we have Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So Daisy Jones and the Six is about a band called Daisy Jones and the Six. It's told through interviews with the band and that type of stuff. So it's an oral history of this band. So it's interviews, emails, transcripts, and song lyrics. I wanted to love this a lot because I loved Seven Husbands so much. I didn't love this book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I think I probably, on reflection, would lower it. Now that the TV series has come out, I loved the TV series. The TV series was so good. I think this book translated really well onto screen. I think I would maybe give it the vibes a mid. Next we have The House on the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. At the time when I read this, I think it was just going to be a standalone, but there now is a sequel. This story is about Linus Baker. He works as a caseworker at the department in charge of magical youth. So he spends his day overseeing the well-being of children in the care of government-sanctioned orphanages. So he is summoned by the extremely upper management to go and travel to this little island. There are 6 dangerous children who reside there, so he must set aside his fears and determine whether or not they're likely to bring about the end of days. The children aren't the only secret on this island. When he gets to the island, he meets Arthur Parnassus, who is the caretaker of these children, and they basically go closer. So you learn about the kids, you learn about Arthur and Linus. I loved this story. I loved it. It was really sweet. I am going to put this in the vibes were good. So the next one is Pet by Akwekwe Emeze. I have given this 3 out of 5 stars. I don't overly remember this one. Let me have a quick look. So there are no monsters anymore. Also, the children in the city of Lucille are taught. Jan and her best friend Redemption have grown up with this lesson all their life, but when Jan meets Pet, a creature made of horns and colours and claws who emerges from one of her mother's paintings, and a drop of Jan's blood, she must reconsider what she's been told. Pet has come to hunt a monster, and the shadow of something grim lurks in Redemption's house. Jam must fight not only to protect her best friend, but also uncover the truth and the question of how do you save the world from monsters if no one will admit they exist. I've given it 3.5 out of 5 stars, actually. I don't really remember it. I think it was a little bit slow for me, even though I did think it was a good story. I think I would sit with the vibes a mid. Next we have To All the Boys I Loved Before, I believe at this time by Jenny Han. This was a reread because I think the movie had just come out. This is about 16-year-old Lara Jean Song. She keeps love letters that she's written in to the boys that she had crushes on in a hat box, because she does that for anyone that she's had a crush on as a way to, I guess, let them go, I suppose. I can't quite remember why she does that, but basically her letters get out somehow, and that's what the book is about. I really like the books. The books are really cute. I really like the movies. The movies are also really cute. So I'm going to set this in the vibes were good. Takes us to Circe by Madeline Miller. I read this part of a book club that I have with my friends. This is about Circe, the daughter of Helios, the sun god. So Circe is an outsider in her father's halls where the laughter of gossiping gods resound. Named after a hawk for her yellow eyes and strange voice, she is mocked by her siblings. So she has found herself increasingly drawn to mortals, and then I believe she goes off and lives in some island, at some point. I think my friends really enjoyed this, but I found this one really slow. This type of book it's just not for me. I think I would have to put her down in the vibes are off for me. The next I've read Punching the Air by Ibi Zavoy and Yusuf Salem. I'm not going to lie, when I seen this on my list in 2020, I don't even remember reading it. Yusuf Salem is a prison reform activist from the Exonerated Five. And this is a story about Amal Shahid. He's always been an artist and a poet, but even in the diverse art school, he's seen as disruptive and unmotivated by a biased system. Then one night, an altercation in a gentrifying neighborhood escalates into tragedy, and boys just be boys turns out to be only true if those boys are white. So I believe Amal is convicted of a crime that he didn't commit, and he's sent to prison. It's essentially about this boy and his, I believe, journey fighting for the truth in a system that is designed to strip him of his humanity and his fight. I didn't end up reading this one, and I'm not going to read it now. We go to 2021, and I only read 8 books in 2021. First is Rage and Ruin by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is book 2 in the Harmbringer series after Storm and Fury. I'm not going to tell you what this one is about. Apparently rated it 4 stars. I don't remember it at all. So we're going to put her in the vibes were mid. And then I read Nick and Charlie by Alice Oseman. Again, I don't remember reading this in the slightest. I've given it 3 stars. So this is it's about Nick and Charlie from Heartstopper. I've, again, given it 3 stars. So I guess I'm going to go with the vibes were off. Okay, then we have The Damned by Renee Ardier. This is book 2 in the Beautiful series. I really loved the book, The Beautiful. Book 1 follows the character Celine. This is set in New Orleans in 1872. She is forced to flee her life as a dressmaker in Paris. She becomes enamored by the vibrant city, and she basically stumbles into the underworld, I guess, and she catches the eye of Sebastian Saint Germain. He has a thing for him, but she doesn't want to. Basically, there are some bodies start showing up, and there is concern that there is a serial killer in the town, and Celine is sure that the serial killer has her in her sights. So she times to take matters into her own hands to uncover something even more shocking. I quite don't remember book 2. I've apparently rated it 4 stars. But again, I don't think I've ever gone on to read the last one. So I think we're going to have to put her again with the vibes were mid. Then we have Memento by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is a novella from the Illuminae series. It would have been many years ago that I read Illuminae. This is basically about Aiden, the AI from Illuminae. I don't really remember anything about it. I've not rated it at the time, so I don't think I'll rate it now. Then we're going to move on to Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. I love me the Jurassic Park movies. The book is very different to the movie. I'm sure everyone is familiar with what Jurassic Park is. If you're not, basically they bring dinosaurs back to life in modern times. I think it's set in the 90s, early 90s, maybe late 80s. I can't quite remember, to be totally honest, the era that it's set in. I really liked it. I think it was a really good time, and I gave it 4 stars at the time. I think I'd put it in the vibes are good. And then I read Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna Maguire. This is about children who have found their door. So think like Jack and Jill. They are a character in this series. So the people that have gone through their door, they've gone into the wardrobe, like those types of things, but they're kids that have come back from their magical land. So basically after they come back, they end up, most of them, in the home for wayward children, and it's just where everybody can understand what they've been through, but each of them is trying to get back to their own fantasy worlds. I don't remember the exact story of this one, but these books are so cute. They're so good. I would definitely recommend reading them. I'm again going to put this in the vibes were good. And then we have House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. This one is about 3 young girls who go missing when they were children, I believe. So something happened to them when they were children, and then they come back, and each of them has an identical half-moon scar at the base of their throats. So they've spent their entire teenage years trying to avoid the weirdness that sticks to them. And then the eldest sister, Grey, goes missing. So Iris is just about to learn how weird life can be. Reads tells me I've given it 4 stars. I remember thinking it was okay at the time. Like, it was fine. So I'm gonna put it in the vibes were mid. And then the last one for 2021 is Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. This is book 1 in the Southern Reach series. I again read this with my friends as part of our book club at the time. This one is about a island or an area X. It's basically an environmental disaster zone that is a bit of a mystery, and they keep sending expeditions there, and usually people don't come back. So now 4 people have gone back on the 12th expedition, and it's just about that expedition and what happened. I have given it 3 stars. I remember thinking it was okay. It wasn't great. I think my friends loved it though. It just wasn't a book for me. Probably sit it under vibes of mid. And then we go to 2022. So in 2022, I read 12 books. So we got a little bit better than 2021. The next book is Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune. This one follows a character named Wallace, who at his funeral, a reaper comes to collect him. So he suspects that he might be dead. And then he meets Hugo, who is an owner of a very peculiar tea shop, who promises that he will help him cross over. So Wallace decides that he's definitely dead. But Wallace is not ready to give up life yet. It's a life that he's barely lived, and he's just not ready to give it up. So he's given 1 week to cross over. So he sets about to try and live a lifetime in 7 days. This is another one that I remember really liking. It was really cute. There was some really sad, heartbreaking points in it. Did I write it in my review? My review is I sobbed the last 30%, especially during the epilogue, and I remember doing that. I really liked this one. It was a really good book. I would put it as the vibes were good. Next is Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien Too by Jomni Sun. This is just a cute little picture book that's got a bit of a story to it. I remember picking it up on a whim. It's a graphic novel, I guess, not a picture book. This is basically about a alien that is set to Earth to, I think, understand Earth. I can't quite remember, but it's basically a story about finding friendship, acceptance, love among the animals and planet Earth, and it, I guess, is about how we can be a little bit more human. It says I've given it 3 stars. I don't really remember it. I think it's cute, so I think I would sit it with the vibes of mid. I remember more of these than I thought I would. Next we have Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This one is about a character named Ryland Grace. He is the sole survivor on a last chance mission. All of his crewmates have passed away. He is the last one left. The mission that Ryland is on was trying to figure out how to save humanity, I believe, how to save Earth. And he is out in space all by himself. I can't remember what is a spoiler from this book, so I'm not going to say much more. I've given it 4 stars. I didn't love it as much as The Martian, but it is still a good read. I'm excited to see the movie and what they do with it. So again, I'm going to put it as the vibes were good. Okay, so the next 3 books I'm just going to talk about as one because they are all part of a series. So that's The Testing, Independent Study, and Graduation Study by Joelle Charbonneau. These are basically Hunger Game vibe type books. It is about a character named Sia, and she is choosing to be a testing candidate. So she is eager to prove her worthiness as a university student, because I believe that's what the testing is. But on the eve of her departure, her father's advice hits at a darker side to the upcoming studies. So just a story about dysfunctional governments that I probably kill teenagers. That's just what those books do, right? I remember enjoying it. I enjoyed it enough to read all 3 books back to back. I would probably never go back and read them though, so I'm going to sit them at all three of them at Vibes Were Mid. And then we move on to The Children of the Hill by Jennifer McMahon. This was another book that I read with my friends as part of our book club. This one was inspired by Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. So this is a book that has two timelines, one 1978, one 2019. So in the 1978 timeline, there is a psychiatrist named Dr. Helen Hildreth, and she has two children at home, or her grandchildren, Vi and Eric, and to her they are just Gran. She's teaching them how to live life. And then one day Gran brings home a child to stay with them, Iris, and Violet is thrilled to have a new playmate, so she and Eric invite Iris to join their monster club, where they catalogue all kinds of monsters and dream up ways to defeat them. She, Vi and Eric do everything together, ride their bikes, go to the drive-in and the clubhouse, hunt monsters, because as Vi explains, monsters are everywhere. And then in 2019, Lizzie Shelley, the host of one of the popular podcasts, Monsters Among Us, is travelling to Vermont, where a young girl has been abducted and a monster sighting has been has the town in an uproar. So she's determined to hunt it down because Lizzie knows better than anybody that monsters are real, and one of them is her very own sister. I have given this 3 out of 5 stars. I remember at the time, again, wanting to love it, loving the concept that it was inspired by a Frankenstein, but it just didn't hit for me. So we're going to go vibes are off for this one. We have Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry. This was my first go at those cozy fantasy books. This is a cute little fantasy about Viv, who has lived a life of bloodshed. So Viv is a battle-weary orc, but they decide that they're going to open their first ever coffee shop. And it's just this really cozy, cute fantasy about Viv and her coffee shop and the travellers that she will meet along the way. I've given it 4 stars at the time. It is extremely cute. It's extremely sweet. I don't think cozy fantasies, or this one in particular, were 100% for me. I found it a little bit slow at times, but it's still good, and I would recommend people to read it. So I'm going to sit it at the vibes were good. Then we have Lumberjanes by N.D. Stevenson. I think from what I'm gathering on a quick glance at the synopsis, it's about 5 girls that are at a summer camp together that's got supernatural critters, ? I've given it 3 stars. I don't remember it, so I guess I'm going to go with the vibes are mid. Okay, next we have The Mysterious Society of Lady Scoundrels by India Holton. This is another cozy fantasy type book, except about pirates. In this book, the houses were like their ships, and it is following Cecilia Bassingwaite, who she's an ideal Victorian lady, but she is also a thief, and she is a member of the Wisteria Society crime sorority. So basically they fly around in their houses drinking tea and blackmailing friends and acquiring treasures, and then she meets Ned Lightbourne, who is an assassin who is set out to kill Cecilia, except he's kind of a bit smitten with her. Then his employer, Captain Morvarth, who has a big abbey as his ship house. He sets out to, I guess, kill them and take down the Wisteria Society. So Cecilia teams up with Ned to try and save the society. This one was another one that wasn't for me. It just didn't hit right. So again, I think I would have to put it at the vibes were mid. Next, our second last book for 2022 is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This book is about the Midnight Library. It is the place that is between life and death. So I think essentially you go there when you're basically on the brink of death. And it is this library that contains an infinite number of books that has each reality of a story, and it is what your life would be like if you just made a slightly different choice, and you can go and try and live those lives. And I believe in the book that if you choose to live that life, you can stay there. It follows Nora, and she needs to decide if she will go and follow she will try and go through and take one of the new lives, or was her original life worth living in the first place? I really, really liked this. I've given it 4 out of 5 stars. Surely I gave it 4.5 because I remember loving it. Yeah, I gave it 4.5. I really loved this book. It was, I guess, the book I needed to read at the time. I would definitely recommend it. I do remember it hitting in the feels though, but it is a really good book. But I still not immaculate vibes. It was almost immaculate vibes, but the vibes were very good. So then my last book for 2022 is My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix, about a couple of teenagers, Abby and Gretchen, and after a night of skinny dipping, Gretchen starts to act weird or different. She's moody, she's irritable, and bizarre things start happening. Abby's investigation leads her to some startling discoveries. I gave it 4 stars at the time. I remember really liking it. It was probably not the best book that I've read, but it was a bit of a romp. I enjoyed it, so I would put it at the vibes were good. And that's the end of 2022. And then we go to 2023. So I read 17 books in 2023. So we are back on the up for 2023. The first one is The Because You Love to Hate Me by Anne-Marie. So back in the booktube days, this was a book that came out that a bunch of booktubers gave some prompts to a bunch of different authors, and all of the authors wrote a short story based on the prompt that was given them to by booktubers. I think I had it since then. I didn't love it. I don't think there was many of the stories that I really enjoyed, to be totally honest. It was fine. So I guess, but I wouldn't pick it up, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. So the vibes were off. Next we have A Diary of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This is a retelling, I guess, of Dracula, about Dracula's first bride, Constanta. I believe this book is almost written as a letter from Constanta to Dracula, if I'm correct. I don't remember it. I do remember really enjoying it, and I would 10 out of 10 recommend it. I know a lot of people on BookTube love this book, so I'm going to put it in the vibes were good. And then I read a few books in a series back to back, so again, I'm going to talk about them all in one. These are All Systems Red, Artificial Condition, Rogue Protocol, and Exit Strategy, all by Martha Wells. These books are books 1 through 4 in the Murderbot diaries. They follow Murderbot, and Murderbot is a self-aware sec unit, essentially. Murderbot has hacked its own governor module, so it refers to itself as Murderbot, though never out loud. It doesn't really like humans. Murderbot just wants to be left alone, but then a neighbouring mission goes dark. It's up to the scientist and Murderbots to get the truth. These books have just been turned into a TV series as well. I've not seen the TV series, but I do remember really enjoying the books. I've not continued on, however, so I do think I need to fix that. But they were good. I think it looks like I've given them all about a 4 out of 5 stars. So yeah, I think I would set them all as the vibes were good. So the next we have What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. This was another book that I read with my friends in our little book club. This is a retelling of The House of Usher, I believe. And it is about Alex Easton, who is a retired soldier, and they receive word that their friend Madeline Usher is dying. So they race to their ancestral home, the home of Ushers. That is obviously a lot of confirmation that this is a retelling of the House of Usher. When they get there, they find a nightmare of fungal growths and possessed wildlife surrounding a dark, pulsing lake. And Madeline sleepwalks, speaks in strange voices at night, and her brother Roderick is consumed by a mysterious malady of the nerves. So this book I remember really liking. I know that the descriptions of the fungus and that sort of stuff made me really itchy. Stuff like that always does. That's just who I am as a person. I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars at the time. I would set it in the vibes were good. This book is A Mystery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. This is 1.5 in the Sorcery of Thorns series. I don't think it's a series. I think there's just the 2 books. This is a novella, so it follows directly on after the events of Sorcery of Thorns, so I'm not going to talk about what it's about. I did still give this book 3.5 stars. I liked it. I think I'm still going to put it in the vibes mid though. Next, I think was when I started to get into TikTok. So there are a lot of TikTok books from here on out. It is what it is. That's what TikTok does, yeah. So I have Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This book is set across, I believe, around 30 years, and it follows, I think, Sam and Sadie developing a game, if I'm correct, which they started doing in college, and then I think it's about their story. The last line of synopsis says, yes, it is a love story, but it's not one you've read before. I apparently gave it 4 stars, which is crazy because I remember being bored for a lot of the book. Again, I think it's just not a book for me, and maybe it was because, again, I was in the wrong reading space at the time. But yes, I think I would set it in the vibes were mid, to be honest. So we have Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I'm sure everybody's heard of Fourth Wing at this point. It follows 20-year-old Violet Sorrengail. She's supposed to go into the scribe quadrant, but somehow she ends up going into the Dragon Riders. Essentially, this is the quadrant where most of the people die, I believe. And she meets Xaden there, who is he's a ringleader. I think he's supposed to hate her. Look, I know that it's not the greatest storytelling writing, but this book just gave me the feels of all of those like dystopian, like Hunger Games, Divergent books that we all loved, or I particularly loved back in the day. I had a great time reading it. I have not, however, read the rest of the series. This was the first book that I had rated 5 stars in like 2 years, I believe. So I'm going to put it in Immaculate Vibes because it hit the spot that I needed to hit at the time. And then we go on to The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. This one is another fantasy romance. It is about vampires and humans. This is also in the same sort of vibe as like a Hunger Games-esque, but for adults, where they are going into like a tournament, I believe, and only one person at the end will live. It is definitely another enemies to lovers. Apparently I love me an enemies to lovers. I gave this one 4.5 out of 5 stars. The vibes were good. Next, I read Six Scorched Roses, which is 1.5 to The Serpent of Wings, so I'm not going to talk about it. It doesn't follow the main characters, though. It is almost a standalone, except that it's not. I would definitely recommend reading it before you read book 2, because some of the characters that are in the novella are in book 2. Again, I would put it in the vibes were good. Then I read The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. I've had this on my shelves for years. I'm sure that I hauled what was out at the time, Final Empire series when I was still making videos years ago, and I had just never read it. I finally read it. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I believe this story is basically a story of what happens if the bad guy wins. And then the magic in this series is really interesting because it's really about metal-based magic. It was really interesting to learn about. It did take me a little while to get into the series, so I did only give it 4 out of 5 stars. I've not continued the series yet. I will for sure because I enjoyed it enough to continue it. It was just, they're big books and I think I've got to be in the mood for a big book, but the vibes were good. And then we read Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This is about 2 characters that essentially work together at a newspaper, and then Iris is one of the characters. She is writing letters and they are falling into the wrong hands, and that is the hands of handsome but cold Roman Kit. He works at the same newspaper, but he is her rival. He's an unlikely magical connection forms. I have given it, I think, 3.5 out of 5 stars. Look, I was bored for a lot of it. The last 20% of it was great. Not enough to make me pick up the second book yet. I did buy the second book. I've got the ebook for that, but I've never picked it up. So we're going to be putting her in the vibes were mid. Then I read Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes. This book was basically told to me as Titanic, but in space. A woman and her crew decide to go and find the wreckage of a luxury spaceship cruiser that crashed. So it's a ghost ship, and they get to the ghost ship. It's called the Aurora. It's this famous luxury space liner that basically vanished on its maiden voyage, and they go and try and salvage the claim. Things start happening. I'm not going to say much more. It's probably best to go into it not knowing much, because all I knew going into it was that it was Titanic in space. I've given it 4 out of 5 stars. It was fine. I think I enjoyed it enough at the time. It wasn't really what I wanted, though. It wasn't what I was expecting. I think I would set it in the vibes of mid. Then we have another horror. This one's The Creeper by A.M. Shine. Follows a character who has set out 2 people to go and investigate this remote Irish village, and he sends Ben and Chloe. They are thrilled to be chosen until they get there. So the village is like isolated, it's forgotten, there's no record of its history, its stories. At nighttime, the villagers lock down their homes, and a nameless fear stalks the streets. So nobody will talk except for this one little girl. So the night that they get to the village, Ben and Chloe, they just feel something watching them, and they feel the creeper watching them. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. I wanted to love this. I didn't. And then my last book for 2023 is The Ashes and the Star-Crossed King. I'm not going to talk about what it's about, but it is the sequel to The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I didn't love this as much as the first one. It was fine. The vibes were mid. And then we continue to 2024. I read 19 books in 2024. The first one is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Listen, I've had this book on my shelf for years. TikTok got me. It's fairies. I gave it 5 stars. I loved it. The vibes were good. I read Chain Gang All-Stars by Nana Kwame Adeyemi. This is essentially a world where people watch prisoners fight like gladiators, and the ultimate prize, so the prize that these prisoners are fighting for, is their freedom. This is essentially a book that is trying to shine a light on the prison system, particularly in America, and police violence and all of those sorts of things. It is a really impactful read. The book itself, for me, I found it a little bit slow to get into. It is quite graphic in some places as well, so definitely if you don't like reading about graphic violence, perhaps steer clear of this one. But yeah, I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. Just because this book wasn't for me, I am going to put it in the vibes were mid. And then we have book 2 in the Court of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Mist and Fury. Listen, same thing. I like these books. The vibes were good. Then I read Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle. This was a book that I read again with my friends in our little book club. This book, I remember it being quite gross. I'm not going to go into what was gross about it in case you're interested to read it. It is about Camp Damascus, which is self-proclaimed as the most effective gay conversion camp in the country. Quite a secret behind this camp, however. This is a horror book. It has some quite gross things in it. If you've read it and remember the pasta scene at the start, I was eating pasta while I was listening to that, because I listened to it on audiobook. Wouldn't recommend that, but I still really enjoyed the book. So I think I would put it, the vibes were good. And then I'm going to talk about them all at once because I read pretty much the rest of the Down Among the Sticks and Bones, the Wayward Children's series by Seanan McGuire. I love this series. I think there are some of them that I liked more than others. I think Where the Drowned Girls Go at the moment has been my favourite so far. I've talked about what book 1 is about. That's essentially what the books are about. Each book alternates, however. One will talk about them in the home, and then the next book will be about the kids or one of the kids in the world that they came from or went to. And each book in the series alternates. It's a really good series. I would definitely recommend. And I'm going to put them all in the vibes were good. Okay, we are coming down to the end, so thank you for bearing with me if you are still here. Next, there was A Court of Wings and Ruin. I think I have to put it in Immaculate Vibes. It was so good. I loved book 3. It was so good. Immaculate Vibes it is. Then we have A Court of Frost and Starlight. This is just a novella that goes after A Court of Wings and Ruin. It was fine. I think it's going to go in the vibes were mid. Like, I don't think you need to read this, but it's there if you want to. The next I read is The Other Side of Night by Adam Hamdy. This book is a mystery science fiction thriller type book. This is not something that I would normally read, but somebody had recommended it to me because I liked the Midnight Library. So I'm just going to read you the synopsis that's on Goodreads. David Asher wants to tell you a story about three. Elliot Asher, his son, broken by a loss that will redeem him, Ben Elmies, a surrogate father, and David's trusted friend, a man who might also be a murderer. Harriet Keelty, a retired detective searching for answers to three mysterious deaths while also investigating a man who might turn out to be the love of her life. I have given it 2.5 stars. My review says that I found it difficult to get through. It was very slow. I remember getting to the end and being like, oh, was that it? So I'm going to be putting this one in Where Were the Vibes? And then we had Twilight. So me and my friends did like a traveling books of sorts where we all read and annotated the same copy of Twilight. Lucky me, got to go last, so I got to read everybody's annotations. I'm not going to rate Twilight. Like, I like Twilight for the nostalgia sake. The movies are hilarious to watch for the nostalgia sake as well. I had a great time reading it because we were annotating it. So the next I have The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. This one is about a character named Keela. She is a librarian at the Great Library of Elysium, and she had to flee from that library with Kaz, a sentient spider plant. So they have to flee, and Keela goes to her hometown, which was a little island, and she opens a spell shop, and that doesn't come, it comes with its own risks, and it comes with consequences, and it was really cute. I really liked this one. I loved Kaz, the spider plant. I'm going to put this one in the vibes were good. Next we have Hunted by Darcy Coates. Again, I was looking for a horror, and I thought this was going to be like a supernatural horror. It's not supernatural if you're going into it like I was thinking it was going to be something supernatural. It's not. So this one is about 22-year-old Eileen. She goes missing while she's camping in a forest, and basically her brother, friends, somebody, they believe that she's still alive, and though the police have stopped searching for her, he and his 4 friends, they go into the mountain to search for her on her own, and basically shit happens. I'm not going to spoil or say more than that because it is what it is. I said I've given it 3.5. I don't know why I would have done that. I did read it really, really quickly at the time, but I was bored for a lot of it. I apparently didn't see the twist coming, but I also remember being really disappointed when I finished it. So I think it's going to be the vibes were mid. The last book for 2024 is Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. This is a horror sapphic romance book. It is basically about Rosemary who meets Ash at a farmer's market, and Ash sells bars of soap. And then Rosemary, she's just never felt this way about another woman before. She just really kind of, I guess, falls for Ash, and it's just about that story. Don't think I knew what it was going into it. I haven't rated it. I'm going to tell you what my review says, as I'm honestly not sure what to rate this. It was some kind of fucked up, because it was. So, yeah, look, I don't know that I would read it again. I think I'm going to go with the vibes are off. And then we're on to 2025. So I did talk about these briefly in the video I posted a couple of weeks ago, so I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail on them. I'm just going to rank them based on how I feel, and I'll try and talk a little bit just in case you didn't watch that last video. Firstly, in the first book I read in 2025 is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This is a book about a girl that has an apartment that sometimes when she goes into the apartment, she ends up in a different time, and there's a man in the apartment, and things ensue. It's like a romance, fantasy-ish type book. I really, really enjoyed it. It has made me want to pick up more of Ashley Poston's books. I would put it as the vibes were good. The next is The Favourites by Lane Fargo. This one is about ice dancers, and it is told in a mixture of narrative and then interviews. So it's kind of like it's going through a TV documentary, and then you're listening to the interviews, because I listened to this on audiobook while I read it. There's interviews at the start of each chapter, and then you'll go and read the chapter. It's basically got a lot of drama in it. I was bored for a lot of it, but the ending was so much drama that I think I'm still going to put it in the vibes were good. Then we have Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. It's designed to look like an IKEA catalogue. So at the start of every chapter, it talks about a bit of furniture. So it's a big store that is supposed to be like an IKEA. I think it's called Orsk. And basically, it looks like somebody has been staying in there overnight. So a bunch of the workers stay there overnight and shit goes down. It was fine. It was also very gross at some points. Fine. I think I'd put it in the vibes of mid though. Then we have Heartstopper Volume 4, I believe. This one got a little bit more deep than the other ones. As always, Heartstoppers are just like a warm hug. I can't put it anywhere other than the vibes are good. Then we have Quicksilver by Callie Hart. This one just felt like a repeat of the lot, like the other ones that I've read. It was good, and I'm gonna read like the next one when it comes out, Brimstone. It's released this month. I liked it, but it felt really tedious at sometimes. Like the two main characters, so Kingfisher and the other one, I cannot remember her name. They were always going at it. There just didn't seem to be a point where they stopped being enemies. Like, I don't know, their banter was not bantering. I'm going to put it in the vibes of mid. Then I have Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This one was about the first women to join the NASA space program to be sent into space. It is a sapphic romance. This one was also only okay. I wanted to love this a lot more than I did. This one was also fine, but yeah, look, it's also going to be mid for me. And then finally, the last book I read in 2025 so far is When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. This is another memoir, and it's about Paul Kalanithi. He was an up-and-coming surgeon, and he developed cancer, and it is about his story, and it is really heartbreaking, and I would definitely recommend that people go out and read this one. Just keep in mind it's going to hit in the feels, and it can be quite dark because it is about someone living with cancer, so just keep that in mind if you are interested in reading it. So I'm going to put it in no rating, so I'll just scroll up a little bit so you can have a look. This is the final tier ranking. So those were the books that I've read in the last 5 years. I think there would have been 90 total if I'm correct. I still have not read a book since I think August, maybe this year. There's just nothing that's piquing my interest. I did think that I could do a try a chapter type vlog where I try a chapter and see if I can find something that's going to get me back into reading again. The things that I'm doing at the moment, though, that are really feeding my soul is I've really gotten back into music, which is something that I've always loved. So don't be surprised if you start seeing more music videos on this channel. I bought myself a DJ controller, so I've been trying to learn how to DJ. I put a short up about that. So I am going to try and make some more videos, but don't be surprised, like I said, if there's more music, pop culture type videos. I am also going to be making some videos about my board games because I have a pretty big board game collection now, but more of that to come later. But yeah, I guess that's it. Tell me if you've read any of these books, or more importantly, tell me if there's something that you would recommend that I read to try and get me back into reading. Thank you so much for watching if you stuck around during this video. I really appreciate you being here, but thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in my next one.